welcome to another GTT video. So Christmas came and went, and whilst I ate my 4th helping of Christmas dinner, I got thinking, I already have a pretty beat up 145,000 mile R53 track car, and I've been messing around with that for about a year now. I know nothing about the history of the engine or the shell, which was already stripped when I bought the car, other than I bought it from Facebook Marketplace and I paid about £1,000 for it. So I got the manifold heat shield off, and that bolt there, yeah, don't think you should be able to take your manifold bolts out with your fingertips. I have installed AP Racing coilovers, front camber plates, rear adjustable lower arms, R56 Cooper S front brakes, an MTC intercooler, Newman PH4 cam, 550cc Bosch injectors, a 17% cavs pulley, ram air intake and some colder plugs. I then took it to the dyno, where it made 222 brake horsepower and 145 Nm of torque. This was limited by a mixture of regular and premium fuel. I then took it to Cadwell Park, where the facelift crankshaft pulley I'd installed 2 days before let go after 4 laps over the mountain. So it was back to the shed. I then replaced that crankshaft balancer pulley with a 2% solid cavs pulley and did an AC delete. I added a factory LSD, I added a Teflon charger, I enclosed my air intake, and I added a 4-into-1 long tube header and some Magnacore leads. I then took it back to the dyno, and on V-Power I made 246 brake horsepower and 275 Nm of torque. Big shout out and a thank you to Sam and the guys at Hybrid Tune. The car pulls really well and goes like a scolded cat. So the next day I took the car to Snetterton, where it promptly decided after a morning session to eat the manifold flexi pipe and remove its own exhaust. However, there were no actual mechanical issues, which was great. Now back to more recent times. As you know, I have this GTT, low mileage, somewhat clean, well-spec'd R53, but in comparison to my track car it still feels very slow and boring. We needed a plan. So me and my mate Rob set a target of 2 days to perform one almighty swap. We would remove the Hybrid Tune ECU, EWS module, BCM and the key internals from the track car, along with its LSD, Newman PH4 cam, leads, Teflon charger and the crankshaft pulley. We'd then transplant all those goodies into the GTT Cooper S whilst retaining the GTT intercooler, performance intake, long tube headers, sports cat and the modified tailpipes. In a nutshell, we want the GTT car to think with the track car's brain, move with some of its parts, whilst retaining the low mileage heart the GTT started with and the other parts that came in the GTT pack. Hopefully it all goes to plan, and the GTT 240 can actually put a claim in to having 240 plus brake horsepower. So once we had removed the engine from the GTT again, we began by swapping the GTT performance cam with the Newman PH4 cam that was installed in the track car. We took some advice on this, and on specs, the Newman cam seemed to be the better choice. We again tried to contact GT Tuning, but couldn't find any specs of their cam online either.
Maybe we should do them up that tight afterwards.
Finger tight. Oh!
Yeah, oh yeah, on camera. This is an engine that came to me with 98,000 miles on it. This one has got 77,000. This is the GTT engine. That is regular oil changes, folks. Or some godforsaken knows what happened, really. Look at that. Supposedly released. That needs to be lifted equally. You'll also notice on this one that the previous owner decided it would be an excellent idea to just cut and tape the injector loom. So we're going to do it properly on that one. There we go.
Now it was time to put the GTT back together. Install the PH4 cam and the 550cc Bosch injectors. You don't necessarily need to run larger injectors if you're just changing the supercharger pulley. The pulley on its own will spin the charger faster, creating more airflow and heat. Your first port of call should always be a larger intercooler and an air intake. although the factory boxes perform well enough with a quality panel filter. Nearing the end of day 1 and happy with our progress, Rob decided, before we could call it a night, we needed to put the gearbox on, and he was determined to show me how they do it where he's from.
Very nice. Very nice. That gearbox isn't going to know what hit it. Right.
Little gravy?
Yep.
Right. Got a bit of dribblage, but we'll be alright. Well, you cop that side, I'll cop this side. Yeah. Oh yeah, we've got the dribblage.
Rob then spotted we had a rogue dowel still left in the gearbox from the other engine casing, so with a bit of heat and some pressure, it came straight out.
Bastard!
So whilst Rob kindly offered to put the starter motor and associated wiring back on the GTT engine, I set to work with the supercharger.
I decided, instead of just ordering a seal, since a pump was £40 and it came with a seal, might as well put a shiny new pump on. But if you do need to do this job and you don't want to buy a new pump, then yeah, that's your seal there, look. It's just a rubber O-ring. And it looks like this one's just been compressed and then hardened over time. And when I took the engine out last time, I disturbed it and now it leaks.
Now, since we were using the supercharger and pulley from the track car, it had already been serviced before I had acquired it. However, I was still using the old 140,000 mile water pump that it came with, so it was time to install the shiny new one that I'd ordered along with the new O-ring. The new water pump went on without any issues and was ready to start making those water pump noises.
Rob, what noises do water pumps make? Gargle, gargle.
It was then time to refit the supercharger and water pump to the block, along with any other little bits it was easy to do while the engine was out of the car. Now it was time to put the engine back in the car. You'll notice that we haven't installed the 2% Cavs crank pulley yet. That's because my cheapo puller gave its last tug whilst removing the Cavs pulley from my track car engine. We then ordered the R53 specific puller from Amazon to arrive later the next day. This is a job that can easily be done with the engine in the car, so we decided it was time to put our much needed sleep to one side and push on into the night with some other jobs that I'd added to the list of things I'd like to do. Earlier that day I'd had a special delivery. My seat rails and sliders had arrived. The day before we started this swap, I'd been out into the wilds to free a couple of Sparco Sprint bucket seats from eBay. They're a month out of date, but as I won't be competing this car in any race series, I'm not bothered. I therefore offered Rob the honour of fitting them into the car, whilst I repinned the injector loom correctly and started plumbing everything back in. Having fitted these rails in his own R53, Rob was more than happy to do the job.
What have you done, Rob?
One finished seat.
That's it, is it?
Good YouTube content.
Yeah?
On to the next project. Yes, done.
You recorded it all, yeah?
Yeah.
You recorded it all, yeah? Did you put this sticker on?
Nope.
Oh, okay.
No, I did not.
I'm leaving it on.
Are you the driver?
I am the driver.
So whilst Rob was installing the driver's seat into the car, this time with a camera on him, I made a start of fitting the radiator support mount and connecting the final bits of pipework back together. We then discovered we had an issue with the seats. Whilst Rob's install in his own car had gone very smoothly, this one wasn't quite going to plan.
Right, so we've got these Sparco seat rails for the R53, and it appears that they don't tell you, it's not labelled in any way, but if you put them in this way, that bolt lines up, but that one is nowhere near. What the hell was going on until we just thought, what if we turned it around, pop that down, look. Oh yeah, look. It's still not like a perfect fit, but we've test fitted it and it works.
So with the seats now installed, it would be rude not to test out Rob's handiwork.
Ooh. Steering feels a bit light.
So that was it for day 1. We begin day 2 with Rob giving one of his favourite tools a good rub down. So what's the plan? Well, we still need to swap all the suspension, brakes and arms over from the track car, and then we need to see if we can get this engine to run with the hybrid tuned ECU.
Need a hammer.
Yes. Power hammer? Whoa, too far. Pull out. You
said it's this way, it's weighted.
Yeah, gently.
Yeah, I will admit to you, it's easier There we go. I'm waiting for the comments to say what a bunch of
Idiots.
yeehaws and
People will say, why didn't you just upgrade to the R56 rear trailing arms and therefore you'll have a lighter aluminium and it's negligible. I'm not bothered. Ow.
very wildlife around here, isn't it?
Badger.
Take a week off work, they said. Come work on a Mini, they said. You'll film YouTube, they said. You'll be famous.
You'll be famous. I never promised you fame. You knew what you were signing up to.
So with the rear arms installed and the rear suspension complete, it was time to move to the front. In this situation, since we were transferring from one Mini to another, we could just bring the whole hub assembly, disc and leg. It was a lot simpler, if not a little heavy, but a job made easier with two. We'd made good time, so we decided to give the R56 brakes a little bit of rattle can red. We still had the ECU and associated control boxes to figure out yet, but the good people on the R53 Facebook group had pointed us in the right direction. We didn't want to lose the investment we'd made with Hybrid Tune and the work they'd put into tuning this setup.
We need to figure, I believe, what do we use? It's the ECU, the EWS, which is the throttle,
And then the body control unit.
and then the body control unit, and a black chip that is apparently in a key. And the pre-facelift car keys have these black chips in them, supposedly. I've seen it, it's on the back case. So we'll see if it's just a case of swapping the back cases over. But then I think you need to swap the board if you want it to match the body control unit for the central locking to work, the remote. But we will find out. Right. Oh, well, that has a black chip. There, look.
Same as these ones.
And the buttons are the same. If I remember rightly from that facelift,
It was a different key.
it is a different key, isn't it?
Different design, different shape.
For anyone who's interested, we are swapping pre-facelift to pre-facelift, but our body control modules still look different to one another. We knew we needed to swap the ECUs and that they were the same make and model. The EWS module located on a bracket above the throttle pedal also needs swapping over, and we wanted the remote central locking to work, so we swapped the body control module over and the board and the chip from the keys. Our puller had arrived from Amazon now, and we could do the crankshaft pulley.
Right. So unwind that bolt. Is it finger in or?
It's always finger in.
Dirty bastard. Right.
Now we're moving into the final stages of the build. Rob is bleeding the brakes and installing some facelift front headlights at the front, whilst I'm installing the multifunctional display chrono pack from the track car and the facelift steering wheel that I wrapped in suede a few nights before. This steering wheel includes the volume control buttons and the cruise control, as the track car originally came with the multifunctional display and cruise. Hopefully using the BCM and the ECU from the track car will give these functions to the GTT. So it was time to try the key and see if all this work was going to be a success. As soon as we attached the battery, the system wasn't happy at all. The central locking wouldn't work and the dashboard didn't even light up. However, after we tested the battery, we could only see 11.8 volts. So we decided to borrow another one which we knew was good, tested that, and we had 12.4. We were now ready to give it a go. So it works! The engine runs well and it's like the GTT doesn't even know. The new seats and steering wheel really suit the car, and with the GTT modded exhaust, doesn't sound too loud, but at the same time still sounds a bit sporty. Now it's time to bolt its face back on. But just before I do that, I wanted to add the Kill All Chrome grille kit I had laying around. I think it looks a lot better than the factory grille. You can also modify the bumper a little bit for that improved airflow.
You got that, yeah?
Yeah, I've got it. Get it on the encouragement. That's got it.
Next time we'll see how she drives, and if anything drops off,